We're all set. Like to call this meeting to order Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20. Hereby informing all attendees that a video and audio recording is being made of the meeting. If anyone else intends to record the meeting, they must let the chair know and let the chair know. First up, we have minutes. 12:23 and 1:06.
They are in the pack. I did not send them out to everybody beforehand, and I also realized that because of low attendance at the first December meeting, we still did not vote on the minutes from the earlier meeting. So if you wanted to postpone the minutes at the next meeting, you could vote in for minutes.
Everyone think?
I'd like to postpone the 1/6 so that I can submit some edits. Look, I wasn't at the 12:23, so I can't make a motion either way.
Just do them all at the same time.
Yep,
We could do them all at the same time. You want a motion to
please,
relay or what?
to we'll go till next meeting.
Sure. Yep.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay, going around the table, Conrad,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Correspondence. Like we have Town of Stockbridge, Board of Appeal, and Town of Beckett, Board of Appeals. Special permit for Stockbridge up on Beechwood. If anyone's interested, and Beckett has public hearing announcement, review a special permit. Then South Cove, so center pond, sounds like.
So in the back of your agendas, there is a sign recording.
Okay,
Well, she did the very last thing in the word.
anyone have any questions on these? Or decipher them?
Well, it's a little hard to interpret because all we have is addresses. We don't have.
We do.
If it's a business, one is on Main Street, one's on Housatonic, and the third one's on Main Street. I don't know what the numbers are, what the numbers mean, 85, 130, and 47. So, I mean, it looks innocuous, but I don't know if I have enough to really have a sensible opinion.
Okay. Sure. How do you, I'm not sure what information we could get out of these reports easily for them that would help us with that.
You know, well, I guess if I walked about, if I had it in advance and walked about, I could figure it out or looked at it up on Google Maps. Or if they could add a field that says the name of the business. Oh, it's a business.
there's no-
This is impossible, huh?
It's how the software gives it to them, so they can't change that.
Well, then
But I could send it to you ahead of time in the future if you needed time.
maybe you could just annotate it with the name of the business.
Okay, I could try to find it. If I had the information, I could give it.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, that's a brief quick.
Oh, yeah, you still up there?
I am.
Oh, boy.
Why? I don't know.
Yeah, there you go. Next up, we have a Form A.
Electronic.
Oh, public. I just went past that, didn't I?
Vote.
Sorry. Come on up. Skating rink? Don't let it happen. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Well, the Youth Commission, the skating rink at the Lee Athletic Field was a huge success. Thank you to the volunteers who cleaned the ice. Thank you to the fire department for bringing us the light tower for night skating and for maintaining the ice. And thank you to the DPW for supplying fuel for the lights. The Lee Youth Commission is also partnering with Neighborhood Ninjas to build a Ninja Fit playground at the Lee Athletic Field. There will be a fundraiser dinner party on Saturday, February 15th from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. to go toward this project. Tickets are $65 per person. Reservations at givebutter.com/dinner are due by February 2nd. On Sunday, February 16th, early admission at the Crossway Tower Gym from noon to 2 p.m. to conquer the courts with the Lee Youth Commission, Neighborhood Ninjas, multiple ultimate obstacles. Registration at givebutter.com/ninja day is required. The event is open to 6-year-olds and older. Pizza will be provided. And I hope that you will be able to attend the obstacle course to see what the setup is gonna be. It'll be a lot of fun. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Okay, now we got the Form A. Patrick? More than moral support? When I first saw it, Gordon, I thought maybe you let your grandkids loose with the lines, you know?
But you actually did a survey.
It's Pleasant. My name is Patrick McColgan. I'm representing Marion Caldwell, who owns property at 732 Pleasant Street. And Jane Bailey owns property at 734 Pleasant Street. And what they're proposing to do on this plan is to swap a piece of property. So Maryland currently owns what's shown on here is lot C. and D. Jane owns lot A and B. So what's gonna happen here is Jane's gonna convey to Maryland lot B, and Maryland's gonna convey to Jane lot D. That's the only change happening between these properties.
Did you say C? That was the last thing that's going to be conveyed?
B is gonna be conveyed to become a part of C,
Okay.
and then C is gonna be conveyed to become a part of A.
You pointed at D when you said C.
Okay,
You did.
You meant
D
D.
is-
D is going to be conveyed
D is gonna be conveyed.
to A. Okay,
Yes.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I don't see any problems. They're both, B and D are both marked on the survey as non-buildable lots.
They are,
So you qualify under the first exemption, I think.
yeah, they're actually gonna be combined. Yeah, everything. that's-
motion endorsed. Second.
Motion and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, go around the room, Conrad,
Aye.
Peg,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye.
There we go.
You grab that one.
Oh.
It's Conrad, so it's.
Four, one, two. Yep.
There you go.
I'll just do that. Yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 3. Yeah.
Good idea.
Got it. Sounds so good on.
Oh, yeah. I want the college house. Right? I like the ice skating thing. I just played hockey last night. I love skating. And now that I know you have, I'm trying to get it.
Who's better?
Yeah, I mainly playing to pick up stuff right now. Stopped playing in the bar leagues like a couple years ago. 63, it's just a little bit too competitive.
I don't know. Just shut off the phone with Dave. Keep down and play
Yeah.
every week.
Yeah, I used to drive skill too, and it's, and also to failure all over the place. Well, especially about last night, those, my 2 sons played with me too. So that's 4 copies there for you guys, right?
Yep.
Yep. And then you got this one here. And I know you got a lot of stuff to do tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, next up, we have, are we at 6:15? 2 minutes.
That's good.
Huh? Right on schedule. Well,
Good.
manager report discussion. I don't want to get into these others right now. We can wait 2 minutes. Got to be right on time, you know. Go ahead. Yes, sir. Come on up.
All right, so.
Yeah, we're good. We don't want to open meeting law violation, you know? They really come out of the woodwork. You know that.
Believe me, I do not.
You never know.
You have to open still? You have to open the public hearing?
Yeah, we're good. All right. I have 6:15, like to open up, special permit amendment hearing, 35 Limestone Road.
Good evening, folks. Matthew Funkin from SK Design here with Bill Burdell. You all know. We're requesting an amendment to the special permit that the planning board issued, I believe it was January of last year, so almost exactly a year ago. For this proposed commercial project. So I'm sure everyone is familiar with it, and remembers it. The amendment request has to do with the building size specifically. There are 3 buildings actually. I gave you folks a memo with the summary that I assume got distributed. But I have it here on my phone. I'll just go over it real quick. There's the office building, which is kind of the first building that is closest to the street. That originally was proposed at 2,400 square feet. Bill would like to make it 3,200 square feet, so we're a little bit in length. Building number 2, which includes some storage units, kind of the long skinny building in the middle, was originally 4,800 square feet. Now I'd like to make it 5,700 square feet. Since we just got longer, grew further south. Building number 3, which is at the rear of the site, also storage units, went from 4,800 square feet to 6,240. That's the larger building at back. The northernmost building stays unchanged. All the locations are generally in the same area. Of course, if they get bigger, you could argue that location change. I don't think the location change, they just got a little bit bigger. No closer to the property line, no closer to the wetlands. The Conservation Commission gave their adjustment last week. I feel like it's a pretty straightforward request. No change to any really design criteria. Bill, I'm sure can explain.
How many feet are we really, you did square footage, but how many
Sure.
feet on the ends are we really looking at?
The length?
So
Yeah.
the office building grew 20 feet. The storage building grew 30 feet.
Yeah.
And the heated storage building grew, that's 12-foot increments, so 36 feet. So basically speaking, why this came about is, well, first of all, if we started building, that would have been done, but I was staring at this picture. And, you know, eventually there might have been a phase 2 down in this area. And we're not gonna do that, so I just decided to make these a little bit bigger. And then that's probably gonna be it for that anyways.
Okay.
So we're just gaining, we just brought them out as far as I thought we should. I didn't want to go any larger than that, but that's all of it anyway.
Anyone have any questions? Conrad?
Okay, just, the lighting specifications still remain the same. Same kind of lighting,
Seemed like, yes.
Oh, yeah, we're all doing the same lighting.
they've got like probably more lights, but they're building lights, they weren't, there were no area lights.
They were building mounted lights. Were there still along the perimeter too?
Oh, we have some on.
Those all clear phase. I should have made note, I know in the past landscaping and trees were discussed.
Right.
Those are the planted trees, right? I'm not-
Yeah, oh, yeah, they planted a dozen trees already.
With many more to come.
Okay, so it's on the area lights.
The perimeter of the parking lot stays the same.
Same thing, there's no increased lighting.
Correct.
Same kind of specification of the light as it was before.
Yeah, and the lighting anyway, that lighting on the perimeters will be shining into the property, so any lights that are gonna be shining towards any of our neighbors would be, they would have to be to go down towards the ground, you know, the new things that they have now.
No change in stormwater profiles
Correct, all the same.
and landscaping.
As previously approved.
Architecture of the building is gonna be the same as the last January.
Correct.
No change in that,
Really, just drifting them essentially.
right? And any change in signage proposed, any change in signage?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Peggy,
No.
anything?
Looks
Dave?
Good.
No, I have nothing.
No,
Peter?
Just one question, Bill. I noticed that the left long building, the north-south building is pretty close to the fence, what looks like it's probably the fence line on the
Correct.
bottom left corner.
Yeah,
Right.
Can you get a fire truck through there?
you're very observant. We were pretty key on that. I think we're at about 15 feet.
Yeah, it looks tighter than it is.
Okay.
We can definitely get, we need to plow there.
Bill and I had that specific discussion when we looked at making this bigger. And if I recall correctly. Before I misspeak,
I don't know if you.
14 feet. I got 14-foot clearance. A fire truck is about 10 on the high side, right?
And that's with the mirrors.
That's fully.
8 feet,
Okay.
one.
Yeah,
So
can't be more.
8 to 9, I think is more reasonable.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Okay. I don't have anything. Does anything from the public?
Mr. Chairman, board meeting, you know, I was just here to worry about the lighting, so you're saying you're not changing any complete of lighting.
No, the board, what we talked about last year would be, yeah. And we're gonna have lights shining, you know, really from the outside in, more or less. We're not trying to spread lights around it.
And even the wall packs, I remember
Yeah, the
there
wall
was a
packs
wall,
were
there was a down instead of the
And
old
shielding
school.
somewhat.
Yeah, they were open.
No, it's just the lighting, I don't expect any no problems with it, given the nature of the business. So, is there still dumpster, just parking out your dumpster somewhere still?
Well, that's what we're doing now, if
Yeah.
you saw us, but that's down in this area.
Yeah.
And then,
So no additional lighting needed for it?
no, just what we've already.
Yep.
No, it won't be anything different than what's there.
So what's the date on this?
I think we just have to.
It is.
Without findings,
2025,
without findings, no?
almost exactly a year.
Well, I would make the finding.
Yeah, yeah. Ask the expert over there.
Who's that?
Gordon.
Go through findings or not? I'm thinking so. Probably.
It'd only take a
Is this
minute.
minor change or a major change? Well, you
Minor,
advertised
minor,
it,
minor. Yeah.
Minor.
but I mean, you advertised it.
We
as if
advertised
was
it, so-
major, So, I mean, you could make, I would assume you could make a motion that it's not a substantial change in it, that you don't need to change any of the conditions on the original permit, but that's up to this board to do. You can Make whatever decisions you want to make.
Cover it all, Peter.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the board make the following 5 findings. 1, that the structures and use are in compliance with all provisions and requirements of this chapter and in harmony with its general intent and purpose. 2, that the structures and use are essential or desirable to the public convenience or welfare at the proposed location. 3, that the structures and use will not be detrimental to adjacent uses or to the established or future character of the neighborhood. 4, there will not be undue traffic congestion or undue impairment to pedestrian safety. And 5, the structures and use will not overload any public facilities such as water, drainage, or sewer, or any other municipal facility to the extent that the proposed use or existing use in the immediate area or in any other area of the town will be unduly subjected to hazards affecting public health, safety, or general welfare.
Because it's a small,
Because it's a small change consistent with our earlier findings from the prior hearing and marginal increases to the boundaries of the buildings without exceeding the lot coverage restriction, which it doesn't even approach. So it's the same case basically as before.
perfect.
I'll second it.
Second.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. Conrad? Peg?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.
Thank you.
So Gordon, on the lighting over to
Yeah.
Destination Nissan on Central Ave in Albany,
Yeah.
they have the modern, LED style lights. And the ones that abut the property, the neighbors can look up and see the bulb. And they've now requested we put shields on them.
Right.
Yep, and even the town got involved
Yeah.
over there. It was,
Unbelievable.
yeah, so we
Wow.
put shields on it and a lot of times it's not necessarily the lighting, but the seeing that.
It's seeing the bulb.
The bulb,
The bulb's
yeah.
bright.
I have a question for the board. Will there be another special permit issued? Physical piece of paper, just a special permit, or does the previous one apply? And these meeting minutes constitute the approval? Do you understand my question?
Yep, I do.
It doesn't bother me either way, but if there's another special permit, we have to record that in the registry. I don't care. That's easy to do.
I think you should.
I think we
Yeah,
should,
so
because
that you're covered if somebody goes up there and says, these are too
Those-
big, you know.
those changes would be part of
I'll
the
coordinate.
new special permit.
Yeah,
And it'll,
You need to make sure she has a plan.
Yeah.
and it'll, depends what you do. If you don't go to construction right away,
Yeah.
the clock coming again. Your clock starts again, right,
Oh,
but
and
it's,
then you can-
but this one will be good for 2 years from today.
It
when it's
actually,
recorded.
the governor, well, the legislative, yeah, oh, because it's after.
It's after January first,
It's after.
2025.
Yeah, there was an extension for permits,
Okay.
governmentally. So
Okay.
anything that got issued, nobody could work on, as long as it was before January first, it get automatically extended another 2 years.
This still is 20-day appeal period, right?
There's, for this, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're not taking tomorrow.
What's that?
You're not taking tomorrow.
Maybe the day after.
Yeah, a little bit.
Thanks.
Anyway.
Okay. So if we have people from the Vertex Tower, I just want to let you know it's the same rules. We can't start until 6:45 because it is posted.
How about the planners report?
Planners report. What do you have for us? Come on up, grab a chair. Where do you want to go there? Okay,
Where do you want
you're
me?
fine.
So I've been pretty busy since the last time we met. I did finish and completed the Compact Community IT grant for file scanning that I discussed at the last meeting. I'm working on finishing up the Mass Trails grant for the Suckers Road property, that is due next week, so I'm doing a site walk to get, a proper topo map of the area, so that way when I apply for the grant, it has all the elevations and everything else, the hopefully ADA accessible portion.
And that's for which?
Stockford Road property. It's gonna connect
Oh,
Stockford Road to the
okay.
Via Maria, Via Franco property, neighborhood. So, it's part of the parcel that we voted in at the last town meeting. I also subbed in for Chris Burton at the Berkshire Municipal Management Association monthly meeting, and I met Senator Paul Marks, who's asking to have a town hall here tomorrow. I believe it's at 5 p.m. along with Via Davis, so if any of you are interested in speaking with him, I highly recommend to just stop by and talk to him. We had a MVP meeting, so municipal vulnerability project meeting, where we're still working and finalizing on the last couple steps for Lee's MVP plan, which would be great to get that done. I also had a meeting with Chris Burton and West Mass Development regarding forestry and other town-owned lands, and kind of brainstorming some possible future plans, hopefully for those areas in town. Had a transportation and trails grant meeting and another rural check-in with Carolyn Cole and the Mass Cultural Council. Had another meeting with Collins Center for the Affordable Housing Trust. We did draft some bylaws that hopefully will be going and working with the next town meeting. I also attended recently the MMA conference this past weekend. We went Thursday, Friday, Saturday, had a lot of great and really helpful just connections and talks, and it was a great experience.
For people who don't know
Networking.
and might be watching, MMA does not stand for mixed martial arts.
No, it's a Massachusetts Municipal Association conference, or I don't know, I might have a black belt, guys. TBD. And then coming up soon, I have a meeting with Melissa for BRPC about Berkshire Brownfields. Very excited about that. Also a meeting with Laura Brennan regarding economic development in town. I also have a meeting with the Massachusetts Office of Climate Science to discuss helpful information to support our MVP grant. And I'm starting to work on our one-stop grants as well, in the process of finalizing our STR software. So that way we can start hopefully July 1st, getting everything out for our STRs and actually registering them and licensing them in town.
Okay. Brownfields, Eagle Mill
Mhm.
is going.
Eagle Mill would be great, even maybe public safety building could be great.
Yes, there's lots of money for that, so.
It
Okay.
just, if it doesn't
In fact,
interfere with timeline.
Have them do it, but get it in quick, because
Okay.
we're anticipating it might dry up.
Yeah.
With
Yep.
new administration,
Yep,
so.
I'm trying, I've been working on getting that scheduled with Melissa for the last couple
Yeah.
of weeks, things have come up.
That was the latest stress at Berkshire Regional, that got all these grants and funding, and don't overextend until you have it in hand.
I'm also looking at a few grants too before those might go away, about some public safety.
Okay.
That Brian Brown would like to look into. as
Anything
well.
on the bike path? I see it's on the tip
On the
program.
tip, I'm trying to reach out to this Eric from VRPC. I need to reach out to Steve from Foresight to try to make sure that he'll be done by 2027. That's what we heard last time. We do have funding through Mass Trails through 2027 for design. I'm working on getting in touch with Steve to then get in touch with VRPC to try to ask them to, and the tip to speed that up to 2027 instead of 2029 where it is proposed now.
Okay.
So that's the goal. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. I know other portions of the bike path in other towns have been delayed to 2029 as well, if not further than that, but
Mhm.
our goal is we are ready to do it by 2027. At least the design portion.
Yeah.
We have the grant for it, so we do want to use before that grant is.
Anybody have any questions for her? Comments?
Comments?
A,
I think she's wonderful.
a lot going on.
Very busy, very good.
An
Yeah.
asset, Gordon? I think this position is showing
Well, absolutely.
just what she
We've
read.
had many discussions.
I know.
I was at the MMA conference also.
Yeah.
We actually went to a couple of seminars.
Yeah.
So it's,
Great seminars about
Good.
housing and other
Yeah.
things too. That will be very helpful.
Just the networking and,
Yeah.
you know, taking some of the, it was just Chris Britton trying to do a lot of this and volunteers.
yeah.
He's just,
Yeah.
There was some interesting, I was talking to Chris on the way home, I was having to ride with him and his wife, and we were talking about the presentation that we sat in, that you and I sat in at the end, that Provincetown had some really interesting approaches dealing with affordable housing, but also using different levels of affordable, looking at affordability, in some of which the town actually sponsored building and renovating some things, not necessarily some landlord, we bring in a separate landlord, but for their summer help and whatnot, and actually going up to 200% of, you know, the affordability one is, and giving them some grant subsidies. I mean, they get a lot more money in housing, rental, room rents than we do. But it was an interesting approach to thinking that they could do that. So that's something that I talked to Chris about.
So was-
We'll be talking to you about.
I talked to them.
like a revolving, funding through the town for
Yeah,
improvements.
for stipend for people, is, and they touch on, you know, whenever we say affordable housing here, you know, they said, oh, we don't want them around, and it's like, who the heck is them? You know, it just means people who don't make as much money, or maybe they're waiters, or maybe they're barkeep, you know, what does that mean? You don't want them around, you have somebody who makes a little less money than, you know, than everybody else. So that's what our Provincetown dealt with this integrated in, like, we're the, what was it, AMI, whatever, like AMI, and then like up to 150% of AMI that helped out this way, up to 200%, and they didn't go more than that. But at that point, it's to keep people who are working and wanting to live there, have the ability to stay there and not be priced out by short-term rentals and so on. So, but it's interesting.
Especially
And
that
they're
area.
a percentage of the room tax toward that. And I think they also have one affordable housing, you know, group that we're looking into. I think the board, like, we're looking to.
Yeah.
So they have that too. So it's an interesting, follow-up discussion. And he used to be the mayor of Holyoke, the town administrator down there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and so he understands what we're doing.
Those are very interesting.
Yeah.
That's some contrast there from Holyoke to,
Well,
Provincetown.
we can talk about that.
I mean, it's a
It was like following.
Holyoke, an old mill town to a very artistic,
Yeah.
creative town.
It's an interesting story. that-
Mhm.
Doesn't matter for this meeting.
It's also interesting that the town of Montague also
Yes.
had a very interesting concept. They're near Greenfield. right?
Yeah.
And basically,
Route 2.
what they did was they have 4 or 5 town centers, village centers, where they have an increased amount of population. They're working on building those up, but then leaving kind of space in between for still the rural scenic beauty, because they've come up and had many similar as we have in our master plan. Citizens really appreciate the natural beauty of the area. So instead of developing everything, they're leaving plots and areas to nature, so that way they still have those, but also doing campus style housing. So not just huge apartment buildings, but smaller buildings with greenery in between and kind of like a college campus in aspect, which is a very interesting way. And
Sure.
they're working on it. They don't really have many set up yet, but that was an interesting concept that maybe we could model something like that in Lee. That did really.
Up in that area, they're doing the micro transit also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's with my view, yeah, you probably heard of Turner's Falls, Miller's Falls. They're all part of Montague.
Yep.
It's almost like Housatonic is to Great Barrington, and Glendale and Stockbridge, that kind
Mhm.
of.
That was interesting as well. That was a nice comparison because it was the most similar out of the presentation, most similarly, I think. It took away some great.
Not a lot of money up there, you know, it's fairly. Yeah, it's just not a lot of money. It's one of the lower income areas
Yeah,
in Franklin County in general.
yes, Peg.
I'm always impressed when I look at how much affordable housing people can make, because I look at it and think of my own life and
Yeah.
think, wow, I never made. You know, everything has changed so that I just think it's great if you can work on these things and get something going.
Yeah,
It'd be
definitely.
great, wonderful.
We are. Like I said, Chris and I have been working with the Collins Center from UMass Boston. And we have draft bylaws in place to hopefully present soon, about an affordable housing trust. And then further discussion from that, about, you know, where are we looking for this? What does the town want to see? The master plan identified a lot of areas where housing could be implemented, even the full stuff as well. So definitely wheels are turning, and this past weekend was a great example of bringing ideas from other parts of the state into Lee as well. So it was very, very helpful, very inspiring. Took away a lot of ideas.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Good
Yeah,
job.
no, yeah,
Oh, God.
Bravo.
it is.
Never
Well, yeah, but I'm gonna take my leave, but I'm gonna go home and get online. I have some things I have to take care of there.
Yeah.
You're gonna be able to participate in the bylaw discussion?
Yep, I got it all marked up, with
Okay.
questions and all that
Okay.
kind of stuff, but I'm gonna have to do it from home because I have something else going on. I
Good.
gotta take care of. So Buck, keep watching for me, okay?
That's what I have her for now.
Oh, she also.
I'm on it.
She does.
I always see James being 9:11.
All right, I'm gonna read open the door.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's pretty loud out there.
Well, Bill is.
Well, there were a couple people.
Couple, he was talking, yeah. He's not the only.
Thank you, I'll see you in a minute.
I also should mention, just on topic of discussion, when I was at the MMA, I went to the EOHCL table and they actually handed me the final bylaws. I didn't give them out to everybody today, but I do have them upstairs, and after this meeting, I'll send out on ADUs, the final ADU bylaws.
Mhm.
I'll send them out to everybody so they can review them.
Don't know if they acted on our recommendations or not.
I haven't
The
reviewed them yet,
suspense is
so-
You haven't, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but that is one thing I'll circulate after this meeting.
Okay, so you don't, no comment on them yet?
Yeah.
Nothing.
I distributed them to building and Chris as well. so.
Oh, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Yeah.
People
And
have
we're,
that.
and we're last. We're after. Planning board that deals with ADUs are after all of that. We really see how we rate here,
You're
Book.
really-
Thank you. I'm saying this
You
with a
guys are
smile.
on it. I thought maybe you already had it.
No, it's a,
It'll be
I mean,
interesting.
we wouldn't read it today anyway. So, it was Monday, my first Monday of the week. I usually have 3 or 4 or 5.
Very lovely.
Still gonna wait 6 minutes?
I think we need to, yeah. Yep.
Is there any other topic that the chair would like to?
I don't have in there, no. Our only other thing would be the zoning discussion. Everybody should I be deep freeze?
Have we heard any more from Jeff Cole?
Other than things are still building over there. Are they? keep people in and out.
There's one, the sections that's all scaffolding,
Yeah,
kind of look through the windows, you can see the sky, so.
I don't know. We're still
It's about
going.
everything but the walls, huh?
Yeah, and they're, yeah, they got,
Well, I'd like to see if he's still on his, original projection on when we're gonna be able to occupy.
He's not even in charge of it anymore, is he?
I don't think,
Well, he is and he is. I mean, his son-in-law,
Yeah, that's
Is-
true.
okay, we're not gonna go there. Okay.
he'll get there, maybe.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, it's that they have this much invested.
I
can't
know.
imagine
I
bailing
hope
on it
so.
now.
They certainly spent a lot of money up there already.
They got grants, they're,
Yeah.
and like I said, they got a lot of,
What are we discussing on, Forest Street? The old mill?
Mhm.
The only thing we could do with that is a good fire.
Fortunately, it wasn't what, West Mass Development was thinking.
I mean, I wish that somebody had an idea, but that thing's, every day it goes a little further into the book.
Yeah,
And it comes with its own set of headaches.
yeah. But that other one was not in that industrial zone, it was in a different zone, right? Are you speaking the,
200 acres behind 45 Fourth Street NCR.
yeah,
That little strip might be industrial. I'm not-
just the building itself is. Were they looking at that or,
An idea is just to sell it like the DCR.
yeah,
We're still
was that the
shopping.
treatment facility wanted to go in the old West River? No, they wanted somewhere else.
They wanted to go into the new facility for the river?
No,
Okay.
it's a Full Street, Silver Street. Like-
West Mass Development.
Okay, I know.
Pretty much.
3 minutes?
Hi, Herb. Derek Cardy?
No.
Oh,
No,
I
not
thought-
very hardly.
Oh, I thought you were.
No, no. But we live on Beaver Dam.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Okay, well, coming up shortly, so. To the topic.
6:45, we'll start, okay?
2 minutes.
We have to do that exact.
I didn't know if anyone was allowed to come in during your meetings.
Oh, gotcha. Good for you. So you got to see all this fun we have every,
I think we'd be in violation of something if we tried to do that.
we
Thanks
try
for your
to,
care anyway. Yeah.
we try to do things right and we still get in violation of something. Berkshire Regional, we didn't have a detailed enough agenda.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
Or maybe people don't want to attend the meeting, they just want to read the agenda.
That, I don't know. So that was a complaint.
I went to your last year, PC meeting.
I know, I saw you
I was
there.
there.
Yeah.
Just looking.
We just had our finance committee meeting too, so. That was fun. And the audit. Over the audit. Want to see paint dry? What that's like.
Just read the regulations. We've won.
Huh?
Just read the regulations. We've got it.
We got it? Good.
Single-family residential zoning district. Any zoning district for single-family residential dwellings are permitted or an allowable use, including any zoning district where single-family residential dwellings are allowed as of right. Oh, or by special permit. Yeah, we got half of it.
It is 6:45. I'm gonna make you host. Just before you leave the meeting, can you make me host again? Cool.
I think I can,
Oh, never mind. That will be perfect. Does that, let's see if that works.
Okay, it's, I got 6:45, like to open the special permit hearing for Vertex Tower LLC on Beaver Dam Road.
And Brent has a presentation that everyone can see right now.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
Let's see. Can you all see that? Okay. Can you guys see it? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Okay.
I'll sit.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Good evening. My name is Francis Parisi. I'm here on behalf of Vertex Towers. We are here tonight seeking a special permit for a wireless telecommunications facility off of Beaver Dam Road. The site is undeveloped, so it doesn't have a street address. So I think we've advertised it as map 22 lot 36. It has frontage on Beaver Dam Road, and access will be off of Beaver Dam Road over adjacent lots 31 and 30 on the tax assessor's map, all owned by the same individual. So, but I think the subject property is map 22 lot 36. By way of introduction, Vertex Towers is what we call a wireless infrastructure developer. We're not a phone company like the names you've heard of before, Verizon or AT&T, anything like that. What's happened in the world is that the names that you've heard of, Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile, have gotten out of the real estate business and have partnered up with folks like Vertex to bring telecommunications to more areas, and we can be more thoughtful. We're real estate developers, but at the same time, we can look very carefully at your zoning bylaw, look at land use, look at other things, and fill in gaps in service very efficiently. We have relationships with all the different carriers, and we build facilities as required by your bylaw to be co-locatable. We build them with a height and a structural integrity. We've been very successful in towns like Lee, we've built towers in Monterey, Otis. As you go farther up north, we've built towers in Nashville. We've got approvals in about half a dozen towns in Franklin and Hampton County. We do a lot of work in even more rural areas in New Hampshire. I'm going up tomorrow night to Andover. We just approved in North Conway. We've got about a dozen projects under development, and I've built about an equal dozen in areas like Lee that are scenically sensitive. And I think we've done a very good job of siting them in such a way so that these facilities are appropriate for the location. The location itself is in the Conservation Residential Zoning District. It's a very large parcel. And when you add all the other parcels under common ownership, it's over 43 acres. It's bifurcated by a existing power line easement. And so we won't, we'll be able to utilize the driveway along the power line easement to get to most of the site. So we don't have to build an access driveway off of Beaver Dam Road using the existing driveway that's already there off of Beaver Dam Road.
Can you folks hear all right?
Yeah.
Okay. We submitted a very extensive application package in accordance with your zoning bylaw. I'm not going to go through everything tonight, but I have it all available on the screen if people want to look at it. In addition, as required by your zoning bylaw, about a week ago, we put a balloon up in the air, worked with Brooke to advertise it in the paper. We notified butters, and I have photographs from that tonight that the town hasn't seen because I just got them about 15 minutes ago. But we were able to take photos and do simulations of what it's going to look like, and more importantly, what it's not going to look like, given the location and the setbacks and the topography. I don't think I need to sell cell phones. I see a guy over there working on a cell phone right
I am looking at the map itself. Yeah.
What's going on in the world is that we're evolving in generations of technology, and the newer technologies, the newer phones or smartphones, they have wireless internet access and can stream video and things like that. And that requires a better quality signal. And so places where we had coverage even 3 and 4 and 5 years ago are lacking in coverage now to meet the requirements of the newer technologies. There's already an existing tower in Beckett, right about
2 miles, which used to be a very long distance from where this site is. But now that gap is getting bigger and bigger because of the newer technologies. There's also an existing tower in Lee, kind of behind the outlet mall up on the hill there. And this is designed to cover the gap in between those two. It's not a large gap, it's not a thing, but as you can imagine, as you drive down the Mass Pike and some of the secondary roads, there are a lot of intervening hills and places where we got coverage even 4 and 5 years ago, now lacking in coverage. In addition, the demand for this service is becoming more and more. I think the statistics are staggering. 80% of 911 calls are made by mobile phones. Over 50% of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts are what we call wireless only. They've cut the cord. They don't have wired access to their homes. People are working from home, educating from home. And like I said, the technology is getting more and more involved, more and more people are demanding bigger data speeds and more and more connectivity. So we're trying to do the best we can to satisfy the coverage objective and also be very respectful of land use and other restrictions. We do a lot of work in even more rural areas up in New Hampshire where people call me every day, when are you coming to my town? Because people realize that the lack of telecommunications is a public safety hazard. So this really serves a great public safety benefit by having better telecommunications. Over the last several years, cell phone carriers have been required to be able to pinpoint where a 911 call comes from. And I'll tell you, I live in Rhode Island. So 10 years ago, when you dialed 911, because my phone was registered in Rhode Island, the Rhode Island dispatch would pick it up and figure out where. Now, when you dial 911, dispatch says you're in Lee, you're in Town Hall, you're in the court meeting room, and so it can pinpoint that degree of accuracy. But as we get farther away from the existing sites, that accuracy is very harder. There's also a movement now to be able to have video from a 911 call, so the dispatch can actually see the person and do that. It just requires a much better telecommunications signal. The data that I provided in the original application shows where there's existing coverage in the area. And as you can imagine, the Route 90 corridor is kind of in a valley with the hills on both sides going up the hill on both sides of the highway. What we're trying to do is cover a small gap along Route 90 in between, say, the Beckett line and Chestnut Street. So it's really a small gap. And then also it's the Route 20 area as you come over 90 and then farther west going towards downtown Lee and the outlet. So it's really not a huge gap that we're trying to cover here, but it's necessary because to maintain connectivity along Mass Pike and Route 20 surrounding it. We did a lot of due diligence to show that not only is this an appropriate use, but really one of the only areas that we could find to do this. As you can imagine, on both sides of the highway, there's extensive conservation land and restricted by conservation restrictions. So we were really limited in where we could go for this type of facility. There's conservation land substantially farther north and south. So we were really limited in the amount of lots that we could even look at. And several are residentially used, several are otherwise developed. So we were lucky to be able to find a lot that satisfied the coverage objective and also didn't have much visual impact. This application is also, because of where we are, even though it's not conservation restricted land, it's subject to the scenic mountain. So I have to go and get permission from the Conservation Commission. And I spoke with the conservation agent and the conservation chairman previously, and they know we're coming. It's just they wanted us to go to the planning board first because you guys have primary jurisdiction with the Conservation Commission. We're quite confident, based on the limited visibility, that we'll get approval from the Conservation Commission out of the scenic mountain. And like I said, what's really driving the bus here is the topography. As you can see, there's very substantial hills going up due north and on the due south, and we're trying to cover this gap in here. So and at the same time, the Scenic Mountain Act requires us to come down off the ridge line, so we didn't want to go too much farther than fine land, because then that would be a much more significant visual on that. We looked at a variety of different lots around here, and I provided, this is all data that was in the package. To show, lots that we looked at and we couldn't look at. We couldn't look at this whole area to the north because of conservation restrictions. We couldn't look at this area to the south. So we were really limited in the amount of lots that we could talk to. And we talked to several landowners. One of the things that we had to do is we have to find a landowner that's willing to put a cell tower on their property. We were able to do that in this instance, but a lot of the area landowners said because of existing use or other development plans, weren't amenable to having a cell tower on. The subject lot, like I said, is a very large, substantially undeveloped lot. It's bifurcated by the power line easement that comes across from Beckett going towards Lee. There's an existing driveway along the power line easement that we'll be able to utilize and then deviate off it. But the amount of clearing that we have to do because of the power line easement is minimal, but it's still, given the vegetative buffer around it, it's really quite shielded by existing vegetation. The lot itself meets all required setbacks. There's different setbacks under your zoning bylaw based on the height of the tower, and we meet all setback requirements. We didn't need any deviation or variance from the setback requirements. Your zoning bylaw has a setback that we'd be more than 125% of the height of the tower from abutting property lines, and then more than 3 times the height of the tower from any area residences, and we amply meet that setback. And as you can see, we're about 900 feet directly and linearly, more like 1,000 feet off of Beaver Dam Road. So we're set back quite substantially from Beaver Dam Road, and also substantially from the facility itself is quite passive. We build about a 50 by 50 compound. We have to do a little bit of clearing around it for grading purposes. But as technology improves, the equipment that's going in these compounds is getting smaller and smaller. We used to build big shelters, big rooms that had air conditioning and cooling units to keep the equipment cool. Those have given way to more like weatherproof cabinets. They're about the size of a refrigerator. And they have a small fan like your refrigerator would for cooling purposes, but it generates no noise. They're actually quite small. Once we get approval, the planning board will go and will bring geotechnical equipment to drill down to analyze what's there very specifically to design a foundation. But the foundation will probably be 10 by 10 by maybe 6 feet deep, but it's designed very specifically, engineered for the specific location and the soil that's there. It'll be surrounded by a fence, prevent access. But after about maybe 6 weeks construction, these facilities are unmanned. There's no people there. There's no water, sewer. There's no sanitary facilities necessary. The equipment is all remotely monitored. So someone might come by once a month or so just to drive up the driveway, mainly just to make sure the fence is intact. Everything else is kind of monitored. So it's really a passive. Once construction is completed, there's really no activity. The tower itself is what we call a monopole design. It's more like the tower in Beckett. I think the tower in Lee that I saw behind the was a lattice type tower. This is going to be a monopole type tower, more like the one in Beckett that you see from the Mass Pike heading eastbound across the line. So all the cabling is inside. There'll be telecommunications antennas, the top mounted on mounting platforms, but the pole itself is quite benign. The color is a galvanized steel. It's kind of like the same color as a guardrail that you see along the highway. It weathers over time. It's non-reflective. It's something that we found to be the least visually intrusive. These facilities are very safe from a radio frequency perspective. The this type of facility is not designed to cover all of Lee or all of Western Mass or all of a large area. It's really designed to cover very amorphous area, but a couple of square miles. And so it's a very low power facility. And the reason is it's a two-way communication. This is a low power device that you talk to, and that has to communicate with the nearest antenna. So the transmission is really broadcast out at about 100 watts, which is very de minimis compared to other forms of radio technology. I'm not sure if you can get WBC here in the AM station in Boston, but that broadcasts out at 50,000 watts because that's designed to cover as wide as possible. This broadcasts out about 100 watts because it's designed to cover very small area. And, given the setbacks, given the height, given the setbacks imposed by the town that we meet, but also normal setbacks, we are amply below all applicable FCC limits with respect to radio frequency limits. And then what this is designed to do is, like I said, fill in that gap along that Route 20 corridor to provide contiguous coverage from the Beckett Tower coming down through Route 20, going towards the existing tower. Like I said, last week, we put up a balloon to show visibility, to show or the lack of visibility. We took a bunch of pictures. I haven't given these to Brooke yet because I just got them today. But, I'll send copies into the file. What the engineers did is they drove around to various spots where they thought there might be some visibility and took pictures. But as you can see, given the big setback off of Beaver Dam Road, and when you drive along Beaver Dam Road or Beckett Road going towards Beckett, you're in kind of a tunnel of trees. And even though this was done last week, where there's no leaves on the trees, the foliage is still quite thick. So no towers are visible. I think you'll see from the photographs that there's really quite minimal visibility. And, some of these locations.
Those are the locations of your photographs.
Exactly. I know, I'm gonna tell you, somebody asked us to go to the Mass Pike and the photographs weren't able to go there. And part of the reason was they ran out of time. It was, they didn't feel safe stopping on the Mass Pike to take photographs, but I drove it, we can talk about that. This is from,
When I'll look to that, float to the balloon. You know where Terry Gardy used to live?
Yeah,
You could see it there. You go, only other place you could see it was right on the power line.
yeah, I was here that day. I drove around quite a bit. You could write, this is taken right at the intersection of Beckett Road and Beaver Dam Road.
It's not on this thing.
We're supposed to be seeing tonight.
He's gonna show them that.
Up there it is. This is post.
It's anything about it.
Share. To screen.
You could share your current screen.
No.
That's still on.
Okay. This was taken right at the intersection of Beckett Road and Beaver Dam Road where the power line easement comes in. And you know, you could see it right at the intersection, right at the end of the driveway. As you went farther down the driveway, you had the topography to kind of cut it off. I drove farther up Beaver Dam Road, anyways, as far as I could go. It was quite slippery that day. It was just after the snow. And the Beaver Dam Road is in a tunnel. This was really the only place that you could see it. along Beaver Dam Road.
What do we see?
See
Where?
it to the right-hand side,
Right in
path, or you got it there, is it?
Oh, okay.
That's the access road that goes up to the power line.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just at the beginning of Beaver Dam Road.
And, and it's quite interesting because these power poles are probably, 90 feet tall, the tower is 150 feet tall, but the tower is probably, 500 yards past where that power pole is. So that's why it kind of looks the same height, but, you kind of lose it in perspective.
So that's the height where the balloon was, and then you superimpose the image
Exactly, yes.
at that balloon height.
This is taken down from the intersection of Beckett Road, I'm sorry, Beckett Road and, Route 20. And, you know, like I said, even though there's no leaves on the trees, there's still a dense foliage, so there was no visibility, right at that intersection.
Can you put your cursor where it is? I don't see it.
If you don't, the reason you don't see it is because you can't see it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you're trying to prove.
Okay.
How about up on Beaver Dam Road? Was there any, can you see it at all from up there?
No, because other than the power line easement, you're in a tunnel. And so no matter, you know, and because we're 1,000 feet off of Beaver Dam Road at the closest part, you know, you're not going to see through the trees. And even though, you know, if you have a tree in
Yeah,
your face, and then you have a 150-foot tower over here, you don't see it till you see is the trees in your face. So there was no visibility along Beaver Dam.
I was there for the balloon test, as he said, the view he showed, that's the only view you had.
This is a little bit closer to, this is right at the intersection of.
yeah,
Beaver
did
Dam Road.
you had some pictures.
I'm gonna tell you,
Yeah,
that
we
could
this,
see it.
there was one place where it was prominently visible along,
That's the one,
That's the new, see this house to the right,
it's above Cardi's.
way down here in the
Yes.
corner? right here.
yeah. And it's my understanding this is,
And,
that's the daughter-in-law
that's the only
of
section
Cardi.
you can actually
Yeah,
see-
used to be
you
a,
can see the balloon.
Dog kennel or something.
Exactly, yeah. So
Yeah,
there was
that's the worst of it right there.
Yeah, I don't call it the worst, but that's the most visible. But,
We'll use that characterization.
and I was kind of surprised before I got, I thought there would be more visibility along Route 20, even like this is the next lot down.
But that,
and
that
because-
tower you just had there is not what you showed us a few minutes ago.
These evolve over time. And so what happens is on day one, this is what it will look like. And then over time, multiple telecommunications
Okay,
companies.
because it looked more low profile
Uh.
antennas on the first one.
No, if you look, this is, again, this is
The house.
probably
The
1,500
old
feet,
pit.
Yeah, it is.
1,500 feet. That's one platform. And,
Okay, yeah.
I agree with you. And I wish I just got these today, but I would ask them to put multiple platforms on, but this is essentially one platform there. And then, over time, multiple telecommunication companies. I'm gonna tell you, as you go westbound on 90, you get a great view of the tower in Beckett.
Mhm.
And it's in your windshield. This, is gonna be similar in design, but not nearly as visible. Because when you, and the reason is because of the way the topography is. I drove down 90. I won't say it's not visible from 90, but it was never in your windshield. It was on the side window. You have to look like this. And same with, going eastbound. It was never in your windshield as you come off the Lee exit, going eastbound. It was in your side window as you were looking this way, but no one looking.
The tower's north of the,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the one I'm
So,
concerned about.
You know, so even though everyone thinks, you know, 150 feet, this is taken,
When you crest the hill about mile marker 20,
exact.
it would have been nice to.
Yeah, and,
I
this
think-
is taken from, a little bit farther down Route 20.
It's actually-
And, again, it loses visibility in the trees, so you don't see it when it's
You
in.
know
your
what I mean? When
windshield.
you come
Oh,
down
that's
to the
the
hill,
trees
right
right
around
now, so
20.
it's Only
And you see, you know, this, you can see it in there now,
I wonder
you know,
if we're
through
gonna
the
see
trees,
this.
but, with that one exception, it's never above.
Part of
trees.
it's close,
That's what was good.
it's right there, because you can, because
Yeah,
when
look at the
Charlie's
second
house
line.
is on, you
Here's
can
the
see
second
that,
line.
when he builds
There's a little
that,
turn off
you
right
can
there.
really see
Yeah,
that.
they have some, this is taken farther down, the next house down on 20, and then this was taken off the turnout there. You don't see it from the turnout.
Oh, yeah, you will.
Oh, yeah, actually, there's a little bit right there.
Yeah, if you can, that's where I saw it.
Well, with me,
Yeah,
you've
so
got
there's
all the other
there's
towers.
some visibility there, but at
It's
this
another.
point, you're about a mile away.
I know.
So it kind of
I
blends
mean,
in.
it
I mean,
when it was in somebody's backyard.
When
And
the-
then
I
farther
look out my
down,
back window and Forest Street's right
so
there.
again, you see it right
And I
there.
don't even
Like,
know.
this is where the turnout is.
It's just been-
It's the second line, you don't even see it.
And the other place I thought you might see it, with the pond that's in Beckett, and they're, is it like green something?
Greenwater.
And then they're building that
Can't see
crazy,
it there.
the crazy nice house there.
Yeah.
I thought he was looking right at it, but there's an intervening hill, so they didn't have any visibility from it.
The house.
You know, it's not perfect, but I think, you know, you'll notice that, it's really not as visually intrusive, as I would have thought it was, you know, based on the location.
And the Cardi house on Route 20, that's where you see it the most.
That's right. You're exactly right.
And,
Can I interrupt?
and that's why, it's my understanding, Cardi, it's his daughter-in-law or something, or,
Which way is the down gradient facing toward Mass Pike? Is there, in other words, is there a ridge to the north that would obscure the view of the tower from people living further north?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That goes straight up the
I
mountainside.
guess,
It's sort of on the hillside facing south.
yeah, so,
Yeah.
and I'll be honest, we put up a balloon before we signed the lease with Cardi. It's my understanding, this is Cardi's residence here. And he didn't want to be able to see the tower from his. So because of, he's kind of up on a plateau and then it goes significantly down gradient. So he didn't have a view of the tower from up there. So all the other houses on Beaver Dam Road, you know, won't have any visibility. Good, and they're way more set into the woods, so.
Nobody's seeing that tower.
Hard to believe that basic pond was so big when it was Lake Lee.
Told you about that one?
I was working on.
I'm sure you all read it.
It's
I
like-
prepared a 30-page memorandum
Oh,
going through your zoning bylaw and how we meet all the criteria of your zoning bylaw. You know, like I said, we try to be as thoughtful as possible. We're never perfect. I can't make them invisible. But in this particular case, I was able to design it to satisfy all the criteria for the zoning bylaw. I think we also satisfy all the requirements for a special permit. Generally, the general requirements for a special permit. And the last thing I'm going to say is the federal government is very involved in wireless infrastructure development. They about 20 years ago, they broke up AT&T. They licensed multiple wireless telecommunications companies. The federal government adopted laws to encourage the development of wireless infrastructure. They want to make sure that you know, it doesn't say you have to say yes. The laws basically say you can't say no without sufficient reason. This was visible from a historic landmark, scenic vista, or something like that. Towns can exercise their jurisdiction, but you know, absent extreme visibility or you know, and given the setbacks from residences and all that, you know, there's really no reason to say no in this instance. And the government tries to support that. The other thing I'll tell you is that with that great federal encouragement, we also have very heavy federal restriction regulations. Unlike any other development in the town of Lee, we're subject to a very extensive environmental review process. It's called the National Environmental Policy Act. And everything that's federally related, because these sites are federally licensed by the FCC, we have to make sure that we have no impact on Native American resources, migratory birds, endangered plant and wildlife species. And there's a whole review that we undergo with various state federal agencies to make sure that we have no environment. So, having done this enough, we kind of know what to look for. There's no, indicia of Native American activity in this particular location. There's no, we looked at databases to show that there's no impact on any plant and wildlife species or anything like that. And we're far enough away from all historic landmarks. I'll also tell you, I was concerned that there might be some visibility from the Appalachian Trail. And I actually walked the Appalachian Trail myself with 7 inches of snow the day before. Once you go north of Route 20, you're in a tunnel and you can't see anything. The only place that you could see it from the trail was the bridges that were over the Mass Pike.
Yep.
And you actually get a great view of the Beckett Tower, which is above the ridge line in Beckett. Our tower was never really above the ridge line. There was some visibility, and it was through the chain link fence that was above the Mass Pike.
I think the Mass Pike had a tower in Beckett themselves for radios, just
Yeah.
for
There's
like
actually
radios.
There's actually
That's
two.
right.
There's a telecommunications one, and then right next to it, there's a radio tower. You
Yep.
actually see those from the, not so much the eastbound bridge, but the westbound bridge.
Because it was a relay to get you from
Yeah.
West Stockbridge to Boston.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With that, I'm here to answer questions, but because I think we meet all the requirements for special permit, I think we meet all the requirements of your zoning bylaw with respect to these type of facilities. Because the federal government tries to encourage this, we get us to approve it, so we can continue to move forward the process. They know I gotta go to the Conservation Commission for scenic mountain act, but quite confident based on the numbers.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna go start around the table first. Conrad,
I personally don't have a problem with this. I've read over the entire, all the material on it. Usually the application of plans for the most part, very comprehensive, seemingly very thorough. They meet all the application provisions of section 199-9.7 of wireless communications. I did go off of the balloon test. The public notice did indicate that it's a monopole cell tower at 150 feet. Your notice, however, said it was 120 feet. But then when I was out on the site, I talked to their personnel. They said, no, the balloon was set at 150 feet. So, I drove up and down the street. I went up Beaver Dam Road. Basically what he's showing is pretty much what I got. I think those are the photos I sent Brooke. So I mean, that pretty much met that. The application indicates the applicant is an easement holder. So essentially you're a tenant.
Yeah,
It's the long-term lease.
we lease space on the property, just 50 by 50, and then the access drive.
Okay. It's correct to assume that this new tower is in addition to the Forest Street one and the one in Beckett, in addition to it, so it's not a replacement for it. Just some academic questions here. This property is in a CR conservation residential zone where certain uses are permitted by right or they're permitted by special permit. A cell tower basically is not permitted by right or special permit in a CR zone. It's not really an overlay district. So I guess what I'm wondering is, with the bylaws, our bylaws do indicate that communication uses can be allowed in industrial I and in an OPLI zone.
The way I read your bylaw was, all uses require a special permit. You've got a separate use category, a separate bylaw provision.
For the wireless.
The wireless, so that kind of is independent of the enumerated uses in the table of uses. So because your bylaw says, they have very specific criteria, and it says that all facilities require special permit. It's kind of like a separate use category in addition, other than the ones that are enumerated in the.
So I'm basically looking at the table of uses, they're not permitted by right or by special permit in that zone, but under the wireless communications.
right.
That's what I wanted you to do. I want you to describe why that's allowed. under that provision. Now, on the other hand, there's other certain things here with the TCA and FCC regulations governing cell tower construction that may preempt our bylaws. And that's why I was wondering if you could elaborate.
And I think your bylaw is thoughtful in the sense that it says, it's got very specific criteria.
Yes.
Setbacks, certain standards that we have to meet, minimizing visibility, but really you can put them anywhere subject to those criteria, subject to your review.
And by the time we're done here, some of the stuff I got, good question you're gonna raise here. In the end, we've got to, I know you drafted findings
Yeah.
for the special permit. We have to basically agree to or agree with your argument for the findings of the special permit. So, that's why I'm just looking for some clarification on that. National Grid or Eversource or some other entity, they maintain power line easement just to the south of where the new tower is going. That right away, or that easement is 200 feet wide. Okay, and they've got their power line easements, their power line towers and their lines go through that easement. The 195-foot dimension that you illustrate on your plan basically puts the closest power line tower at 195. What happens, hypothetically, what happens if Eversource and National Grid decides to put more power lines just north of where the existing lines are now? That's going to be in the fall zone with a new set of lines in the same easement. I guess my question is, was National Grid or was Eversource or whoever who occupies the easement, have they been notified? Are they noticed as an abutter or are they noticed as part of this application?
I don't.
And do they have any comments?
I will tell you, I don't think they are, because they're simply an easement holder. They don't own that land.
Correct.
They have an easement over the property.
Mr. Carty owns the
We
land.
can't, we can't do anything that obstructs their power line easement. So this is outside of power line easement. We're allowed to use the access driveway because it's not inconsistent.
Right.
Their use of the access driveway.
It's usually common.
And we're not bringing, but like our utility poles will not be in their land. It'll be on outside of the utility.
So no, that's all understood. And everything is there now, and even on your plan at the 195, I mean, that's all compliant. My question is a hypothetical. In that easement, if they did construct new power lines just north of where the existing ones are, which is south of your tower is 80 feet from the edge of that easement. And in our code, there's a drop zone to 125. And if the existing lines aren't within that in that area, but if they haven't constructed new lines, that would be in the drop zone. Whatever, 50,000 volt lines or whatever. It's a hypothetical.
I
but I'm just
understand the
unsure.
question. I'm gonna be a little bit facetious. You mentioned a fall zone or a drop zone. I don't know what that means. I'm being facetious.
The 125,
But that assumes something. We work on tower height setback.
yes.
These type of facilities are very over-engineered.
Mhm.
And by having a monopole type facility, they have all the cabling inside. There's been, and then what happens is we design a foundation very specific to the location. And towers don't collapse. They're designed so that they don't fall down. And there's been ample evidence of that through all the natural disasters we've had. There've been some instances where guide towers with wires, there was a big ice storm that came through here, or came through New England about 5 years ago. And all the power poles came down because the wires pulled down. This doesn't have guide wires. So it.
Okay, I'm dealing with a hypothetical. That's fine. We
And
don't
I'll
have to-
also tell you that, we have built, National Grid and Eversource has their own telecommunications network. And I've worked on a project for them where we build these towers in their easement because they need their own telecommunications. Now they also utilize, commercial networks like Verizon and AT&T. We have, many times, built towers adjacent to their easement,
Mhm.
and they've had no issue.
Okay,
So I don't think there's a requirement that they be noticed, but
I guess that was a question, if they had to be noticed, if there was any comments from them.
oftentimes we just did a tower in Ashfield, kind of the intersection of two and they owned the land that was adjacent to this project. And so they were very involved in the process. They got noticed, they never had issue, and we dealt with them many, many times because they understand the engineered nature. They have very limited rights with respect to their easement, very specific rights, but as long as we don't need their ability to do their electrical transmission, they don't.
It didn't look like there was any houses or residents within the 3 times tower height, the 465 feet that you showed on in your exhibit.
There's no,
There's no houses within the 465.
yeah, there's definitely no houses in there.
Okay. You mentioned scenic mountain act. Yeah, because it's, the elevation on that is in their zone 1, it's actually 1,280 feet. We're above that, so.
I knew that, and like I said, I spoke, we did a similar project in Monterey where we were much higher. And they required us to go through it, but the conservation agent and the Conservation Commission asked us to finish with the planning board first.
Okay.
And I agree with that. And I did speak to the agent, I did speak to the chairman of the Conservation Commission. And she said, finish with us.
So, going through the entire list of plan requirements, it seems like you hit everything. There's just one there under G113. Were you going to provide the 4 view lines as cited, or are you going to seek a waiver from us?
Yeah, I don't do that. What I like to do is provide the pictures. I think the pictures tell 1,000 words, and a line on map, it's kind of hard to delineate that. I think what's more valuable is pictures, and the pictures I just showed you. Today, I'll send them to.
All right. So worst case scenario, we'll just ask for a waiver if that particular, okay,
No, don't do that.
we'll do that.
Nope. Well, that would be a whole different setup. It would,
I maintain that I satisfied it by giving you the photos. It doesn't say 4. I gave you multiple photographs from various directions.
we can either require all of this or same thing as a site plan approval. Waive strict site plan requirement, stuff like that. To ask him to submit for a waiver.
Okay,
I-
or we can accept the photos that he's provided.
Yes,
I didn't think I needed site plan approval because I got the special permit from the planning board.
you gotta go gotta get site plan approval to get a special permit.
One application covers
One of-
both processes.
Yes, yes.
We approved
Yeah, once you
one
get the
site plan
special
first,
permit, it's a formality.
And under the wireless communications cycle, those are some of the site plan elements that I'd be provided with.
Yeah,
Like I say, everything they submitted, I mean,
it's all there.
it's all there. It was just
It's
that,
there.
it was just that, number 13, it was missing. I don't have a problem.
I think he's got all the pictures.
No, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine, yeah.
I believe so. We'll find out.
The existing tower on 4th Street. You have to know if they got Verizon and AT&T and T-Mobile and Dish. So they've already got the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Those towers are fully loaded, the one in Beckett and in behind the outlet mall. So we're not replacing those, we're just complementing them.
Right, so those 4 tenants, it's just a continuation of that, all right. Demographic standpoint, it seems like a lot of your arguments going forward was the need for the cell service, which I understand, the gaps, I understand that. The talked about cell service for the residents in that neighborhood, so to speak, whatever that diameter is, or the radius, whatever it's gonna be. It just seems like, well, first of all, the gap service, does it mean it's a dead zone or does it mean a reduction in signal or reduction in bars?
The problem is.
Trying to demonstrate.
I don't understand. The problem is topography. You can get a signal here and then not get a signal here because you're behind a tree or behind a ridge.
Right.
You might be able to get a signal on the second floor of your house, not the basement of your house. And what we're trying to do is provide reliable coverage and ubiquitous coverage in places that work in any structure. The other thing that happens is a structure becomes an impediment to the signal.
Mhm.
As you can imagine, this is a brick building and which is a more dense structure, which has a greater impact on the signal versus a wooden structure versus a car. A car really has no structural impediment. And what we're trying to do is provide quality so that people can make a 911 call in a brick building or in their basement or in a car or and without regard to the exact location because of topography.
5G service?
Yeah, eventually, the world is migrating to 5G. What 5G means is like the 5th generation of technology.
Yeah.
We started off with analog phones and then digital phones and then, and this is just 5G is the newest, and it's really kind of a marketing term because there's really no definition of what 5G is. What AT&T considers 5G is different than what Verizon considers 5G. We're migrating to a 5G. And what 5G is going to accomplish is, they call it the Internet of Things, where machines are going to be able to talk to machines. At some point, when you drive down the Mass Pike, this car is going to be able to communicate with this car and know that this car stopped short and then stuff like that. So move to and drive those cars. Your refrigerator can already talk to the internet to say, I'm ready or I'm not ready. And that it's just.
That's why you need more service for the refrigerator.
Exactly.
What is the proposed timing of completing permitting, commencing construction, and having this thing operational?
You guys have something up here called winter and
Yeah.
snow.
Not unlike
We'll finish all the federal due diligence in the spring. The goal is to have this built before next winter.
or next winter.
And I can't guarantee that because there's a lot of variables, but that's the goal.
Right, cell tower development in part seems to be regulated by the Telecommunications Act of '96, the TCA. I was going to ask about relative electromagnetic radiation relative to houses nearby, but
There's no houses nearby.
well, it doesn't appear to be. So, well, that's why I was wondering what the distance were,
Um,
but really it's irrelevant because the FCC control that, we have no control of that. So it's kind of a-
I'll tell you, what the FCC says is towns can't take into effect count radio frequency transmissions to the extent the facility complies with applicable law. And we submitted an affidavit to show that as designed, it will. And part of that is a function of the height of the tower, the frequencies that are broadcast, the setbacks, and given the setbacks, given the height of the tower, given the location of other residential uses, we're amply below FCC.
Last page here.
I hope so.
Just in a summary here, it just seems like a lot of the arguments that were presented in your presentation here, in your application, there was a lot of discussion of the benefits of the subsurface providing for the gap for the residents of Lee. And we're talking about
Some point.
the eastern part of Lee and probably the western part of Beckett. It seemed to be a lot of discussion around that. So that demographic, you're trying to fix a problem for that demographic. There's only one point in the entire application package that referred to I-90. And that was from the affidavit from the DF engineer, I guess. It just seems like I understand the gaps. I understand what the coverage is going to be. It just seems like really this is for the mass turnpike. We all travel on the Mass Pike from Buffalo to.
Conrad, really, that's, I mean, yeah, we gotta see its beneficial
What's
to
the
the
benefit?
community,
Yes,
but that, yeah, we know it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
I agree, I understand.
So-
I would say the primary objective is to fill in the gap in Mass Pike, and then Route 20 concurrent.
right.
There's benefit to the area residents.
No doubt,
You don't.
no doubt.
Given the volume of traffic on the Mass Pike versus the volume of traffic on Beaver Dam Road.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You know, there's a substantial benefit. And, you know, is this designed to provide benefit to downtown Lee? No. But, and because there's already facilities that do that, but, you know, it's what we're trying to do is provide ubiquitous, meaning everywhere, and consistent and, coverage everywhere, all time, every time, without regard to topography, terrain. To be very honest, there's a need for coverage on the Appalachian Trail. Because there are safety incidents on the Appalachian Trail. We do a lot of work up in New Hampshire in way more rural areas that are primarily recreational in use as opposed to residential or traffic. And there's a demand up there as well. You read about all the safety incidents on recreation area and things like that.
I understand the need for it. I agree with it. We haven't talked to any of the neighbors. I'm not sure if there's any letters from butters. But again, we have to look at this from a special permit finding standpoint. Just want to get some of the input for that. That's all I got.
We got it?
Yeah.
Okay, Peg?
I don't have too much. I just want to hear eventually from the if
We
there
will.
are any
Yep.
others, what
Get
their
through us.
feelings are.
Get through us and then the public is to speak.
Yeah, I'm off that. Thank
Dave?
you.
I'm short and sweet. I think it's a good location to pick up the coverage that they need to pick up. The galvanized tower within a couple of years will turn a grayish color and it'll be less visible. I mean, it'll be kind of reflective when you put it up and it's brand new. But within a couple of years, you'll never know it. And also, you've got all the other poles for all the high tension wires. It'll all blend together. So I say, that's all I have. I think it's a great location for do what it's gonna do.
Peter?
Mr. Parisi, I want to begin by congratulating you on the thoroughness of your application. I've never seen anything in my time on this board that was as thoroughly prepared and as thoughtful, really, about the meeting
I
of.
like how you put our own bylaws right in here. and address each.
You know, I
That-
usually do it on
that's pretty
Sundays, like
dangerous.
that, But I find it very helpful. It actually helps me too, to go through and say, oh, do I need a variance? Do I need a approval from what board? So it's a,
Sorry to interrupt
It's-
you.
That's fine. Now that I've complimented you, I want to raise some very minor thing that's going to be embarrassing to you. On page 5 of your
I know
project.
exactly what you're gonna say. I saw it yesterday. I saw it yesterday.
You want to tell us, you were applying it to Lee, not to Andover.
Exactly. I'm literally in Andover, I'm literally in Andover, New Hampshire tomorrow night, and I was doing an application at the same time. And
Yeah.
But I did see. that.
Okay.
I was just.
Very good.
I can't believe you pick up the one. There's actually another one too. There's
I
another
know,
one.
I forgot where it was. Yeah, yeah.
There's a site down on Cape Cod, Barrow's Landing Road. I saw that too.
Oh.
Well, or lawyer to lawyer, I tell you guys.
I just wanted to prove I read it, that's all.
I appreciate that.
The road that you're gonna build is off of the access road that's already there for the electric utility, is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we start on the access road and then we deviate out, because we gotta bring utilities in as well. We can't put the utility service in the power line easement. So we have to, so we start in there, so there'll be no, from Beaver Dam Road or Beckett Road, or is there, you won't see a new driveway. But then as you go farther up the hill, we'll deviate off.
Okay, so my question really is, it looked like the new construction is quite long. And there are ways to get access from the existing right of way that looked like there would be a shorter route for you. I wonder what the reason was for the extra length.
We hugged you can see right there, we hugged the power line easement. So and that's like adding like maybe 10 or 12 feet of clearing along that driveway there.
So this part I'm pointing to now, that's an existing driveway, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but it dips down on someone else's property.
Oh, I see. Okay, good.
So,
Okay.
all
All right.
so we use it at the beginning, but then as it dips down, we deviate off.
I have one other question for you, which may not even be relevant to this board's consideration, but you mentioned 5G coverage. My understanding apparently is wrong. My understanding previous to this was that 5G is a new service that's operating at a higher frequency. It requires therefore more shorter range antennas placed more and more at shorter distances.
That's correct. 5G is kind of a generic term. Because there are multiple different technologies, multiple different frequency ranges. And you're right. As we go higher up on the frequency spectrum, data speeds go faster, but the coverage is less.
So will this be mostly the traditional frequencies then on your tower and not the higher speed gigahertz frequencies that they talk about for 5G?
It'll be all of the above. And like a company like AT&T deploys multiple frequency bands, some to get greater coverage, some to get higher data speeds. The other thing that, and another reason why it's relevant is because in high traffic places like the Mass Pike on Thanksgiving Sunday, there are capacity issues and there's too many people accessing a cell site at the same time. So AT&T and other telecommunications companies deploy multiple frequency bands to cover that. And so it will utilize the lower, the 700, the 1900 that you kind of enjoy now. But over time, it will start deploying the 2500.
So even though they're up on a ridge, they could potentially use the new shorter range, higher frequency bands, the 5G bands that are in the gigahertz.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. So I have only really one substantive concern with this. I think it's a good project. It looks like you've done a very thorough research and found an optimum place to put it. So far as I've heard, with minimum objection from anybody. But I'm concerned about the bond. We have a bond requirement in our bylaw that I'm not sure we really ever thought through. And I'm not sure how I think it should be implemented. You submitted an estimate of what the removal costs would be, and that was appreciated. But the bond that you submit, the draft bond that you submit, I'm not sure that it really covers. I'm not sure what it covers. It seems to be sort of, there seems to be some double negatives in there.
I completely agree with you. And the problem is that everyone, and your bylaw is very typical of other bylaws that require a bond to remove it in the future. And it's not the typical bond that you see as a planning board, like a completion bond for the subdivision road or something like that. This is for something that, and I'm gonna be honest, no one's exercised these bonds. And that's the bond that we've given to every other town in Massachusetts and Rhode Island and New Hampshire.
The same wording?
It's the same wording. It's the same bond. And they're only good for a year and they're automatically renewable. This tower's, I don't know, I don't get involved in the leasing part. Typically, these leases are 50 years long. And there's been towers that are more than 20 or 25 years old, but there's been an explosion in the last 25 years. And we're anticipating they're going to be there forever. But if you're used to looking at bonds as a planning board for, like I said, completion, this is completely different. And we can talk about it if you have specific issues.
Well, I don't.
It's what we've done other times.
My personal view is I don't even know why we would think we would get anything by a 1-year bond on a project that's gonna, I mean, maybe a completion bond might be useful.
It really,
But a 1-year bond that's renewable without making sure that it was actually renewed is worthless.
It is.
And so I don't know if I have the authority or even inclination to say no bond, but I'd like to find some sensible way to make this meaningful for Lee without being unduly burdensome for the applicant. And I
Actually,
don't really have an answer. I don't want to ask you to bring in a $35,000 check and put it in escrow for 50 years.
We don't like to do that because like we think long-term
Yeah.
and where's that money gonna be in 5 years or 10 years? And,
Has that ever been done? Do you know? Have you ever had that experience where
people
you?
have tried and I get them to accept the bond because it's,
Yeah,
a bond is, you know, for what we do, it's relatively inexpensive. And, I'm gonna tell you, one of the towns, Conway, Mass, Conway, Mass, up near, Deerfield. We did like a tri-party agreement between the landowner, the town, and the, Vertex to, basically, because if you think about it, I'll give you a bond, but it's private property. You don't have the right to go on private property to take that tower down, even if you had the money. So this gives you the ability to, you know, the landowner gives you the right to go on his property to take it down.
yeah.
And that's something that's recorded so that it.
I mean, I just can't foresee us not needing in the next 20 years cell service or not needing cell service on the Mass Pike. So I can't really imagine. The only thing I can imagine really is that for some other reason external to this whole discussion, your company runs into trouble and fails to maintain it. It just becomes an ugly eyesore that doesn't work and doesn't for some reason continue to provide cell coverage. I can't really imagine what those circumstances would be. That would be a risk, but it seems very remote to me, so.
I take offense to the word eyesore. However, I understand the point. I think that's different than any other. We're the only ones that have bonded a structure. People have built houses and they've been abandoned, and commercial facilities, they've been abandoned.
Yeah.
And, but because ours is in theory visible from outside of the parameters of the property, I don't disagree with it, but it's you have given it more thought than 99% of the world, because it's just something that everyone's, give us a bond, but they don't really think it through.
Yeah.
And when these bylaws, it's in different places and everybody says, oh, they gotta be bonded. They gotta give us a bond.
Yeah,
And then, I mean, what I've learned being on this board is when the whole bond thing comes up, like you say, about the renewal, it's expired. It's just, it was a good thing to say
yeah.
and try to protect the town, but
These,
they're really not.
these don't, it's like an insurance policy where if the bond doesn't get renewed, you get notice, and we've had no issues. We've had some of these bonds in place for 10 years and they get automatically renewed. The system's in place. It's just, for the 1 year hasn't been an issue.
Okay.
It's just, what's really has never been tried is, what happens if you really want to exercise the bond.
The other thing is that our bylaw requires that the bond draft be reviewed by town council. I don't know if the board is aware of that. You wanna?
Well, I kind of question even if we have the right to ask for the bonds, because it's on private property. I mean, we're trying to protect the town, but it's on private property. And if anything ever happened, the tower's not gonna fail. There probably
Could be in a tornado or something.
well, an earthquake like today.
Yeah.
But,
I felt it. I did.
you know, if anything, you'll be bought out by somebody else.
Right, the good and the bad is that this is gonna be around for a very long time. I dare say longer than.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, it's never, all these towns require, your bylaw is no different than any other town. They ask for it. We give it, it costs us money, but it's just, no one's really kind of thought it out. To the extent.
Maybe, Mr. Chair, maybe the minimum I would do tonight is just to ask Brooke to check with town council with the draft form and
Who's
seek
your
his.
town council?
Jeremiah Pollard.
Jeremiah Pollard.
He's
a- She knows where to get hold.
I thought, there's a law firm that represents many cities and towns in Massachusetts.
We have a local lawyer.
And they've looked at this before, but
Yeah.
we'll certainly talk to them. I have no issue with it.
Okay, and finally, I talked to you earlier about this before the meeting started, but I'll repeat. The bylaw is very detailed. There's a lot of findings required. There's a lot of other things referred to that ought to be done or must be done that don't explicitly require findings. This is not a practice that this board has adopted before, but I think that we should adjourn or recess this until the next meeting and give this applicant a time to file proposed findings that will be sufficient to protect his record in case there's an appeal. And that will simplify our work, make sure that we have completed everything that's required in the bylaw.
You did provide findings.
I think it is.
There are limits.
What I could do, I took your zoning bylaw, converted it to a Word document, and then went through, said we need this, we need this, this is how we need it. And so it would be easy for me to take that, and if there's a section that says the board must find, I can just call that out and make the finding, regurgitate the language of that. So it would actually be a relatively easy exercise for me. I think it'd be harder for you guys, but relatively easy. I can provide it to.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay,
That's all I have. Thank you.
that's it. So you touched on for me, the different, frequencies and 4G, 5G, all that. Will this increase the bandwidth capabilities?
Yeah, what it is.
Because I'll tell you what happens around here. We're 120,000 in the whole county. In the summertime, we go to like 300 to 400,000. And everything slows right down. You can't load anything. Is this a progression that we're gonna see? Try to solve that issue?
Like I said, I guess I didn't really think about it this way, but, we do a lot of work down at Cape Cod, where it's truly,
Same thing.
they were saying
Yep.
truly seasonal. And, they have existing infrastructure, but then the infrastructure is constrained in the summertime. And think of it like an umbrella. During the winter time when there's a moderate amount of people here, you get really good coverage. But as more and more people utilize it, the coverage from the existing infrastructure shrinks. So there's, like I said, a tower in Beckett, and there's a tower behind the Outlet Mall, and you get pretty decent coverage there. But in the summertime, when the Outlet Mall has lots of people, when the traffic's back up on this cycle, and there's a lot of people in downtown Lee, the coverage from the existing site shrinks. So this fills in that gap.
Okay, in a nutshell, that works. We have a couple people in attendance, I believe. Do you want to speak? Have anything to say?
Couple questions.
Yeah,
My name's Greg Ingram. So I live on Beaver Dam Road.
Okay,
There are 10 houses on Beaver Dam Road, and there's 3 of us that live there full time. Judy, Tim, and myself. So just a comment for you guys, the planning board, on the notification process. Neither Judy nor I got a letter notifying us. It's a private road, so those of us who live there either have post office boxes in town, or they have other addresses that are, I guess, on record. So we found out secondhand. So going forward, appreciate it if you guys could fix that.
Yep.
process somehow.
that,
And I'm assuming that we'll be getting updates on the process as it goes along as well.
the construction,
The
Permitting process.
the permitting process.
permitting process, construction, all that. There's gonna be blasting, all that stuff.
I don't know what you would really get
Well, that would be
privately
from
notified. It
us.
wouldn't be from us, no.
Can I just say a couple of things? One is that there's a very specific Massachusetts statute that describes who gets notice in a special permit case like this. And it goes to all adjacent towns and it goes to all adjacent landowners. I think it's within 300 feet.
300,
of
so
any
that's,
part of the parcel.
I think that's what happened.
So, ideally, we would have somebody here who would say, oh, I know that area of town, right over the hill there, 325 feet. There's a whole bunch of people we ought to notify, and the town could notify you if we had had that process, but we don't. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you heard about it. I'm sorry that it didn't happen directly by letter, the way it would have.
Well, some
Other-
people who have own houses on Beaver Dam Road did get notified. That's how.
Yeah, they would be the abutters.
What happened was, I get my mail, PO Box 88, they don't deliver to 30 Beaver Dam Road. The letter was addressed to 30 Beaver Dam Road and it was returned by the post office. I spoke to you about that.
Oh.
I came to you with this, I found out about it from somebody who I believe lives in Pittsfield, and I guess she got her notice. And that's what happened.
Right.
Okay, I understand. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
As to your second,
My bills for my taxes,
Yeah.
and they sent to PO Box
Yeah.
88, and that's why I figured it out.
yeah,
That's, that I'm surprised, because usually the list is generated by the tax assessor. So if the assessor has the mailing address of the field,
What happened?
Yes.
and then
I can explain that, yeah, so our JS is overgoing updates. I actually manually went and also added addresses as we have on file in August 2024 from our actual paper handbook, and that's what I got for you. Originally, your address, I believe, did not show up in the 300-foot abut notice for the parcel because the parcel was not this direct parcel. It was because it's owned by the gentleman. His house is actually the next town over. So when you're doing the 300-foot abutters list, it was at the next parcel, which is further away from your parcel. But I tried to go and actually identify by hand, because I knew that I wanted most of you, not all of you, on Beaver Dam Road to know that the actions that we had filed in town hall in the select board's office were actually 30 Beaver Dam Road. But I did keep all of the returns that I had.
and then you also asked about future proceedings, so we'll do something tonight. We'll either postpone this for consideration later, or we'll decide the question tonight. And then at some point, our proceedings will be over. And as long as they're underway, you can attend, you can see the notice in the town hall, when we're meeting and what the agenda is in advance. We're required to post that by law. And you're welcome to come and participate and say your piece, just like we offered tonight. But once our proceedings are over, then we don't have any say in what the contractors do or when they blast. That'll be something that they can either arrange with you or not as they choose, unless we required something.
When I walked up the road, of that transmission line on the 21st, through all that snow, and there were two women in a car there, and I asked her that where the balloon was going to be. And she said that they couldn't get all the way in the woods, and it is 100 feet south of the woods. Is that correct?
yeah, sure. They maybe take them, we can't look up through the trees and get as close as we
So
can.
it's going to even be in the woods first?
It'll be farther back, exactly. So that view that we saw at the power line, it's gonna be, and I think they anticipated a photo simulation. The balloon was here, but they put it here.
Oh, okay. And just for the record, I had no problem.
Okay. Because you guys are the closest. We want to make sure that, that there's not a big
I
objection.
know that, very good, I have no problem.
Right.
I
You-
had no problem looking at those transmission lines.
I'm curious.
That's,
So I say they'll all blend together in a couple of years.
Because I tried to drive up Beaver Dam Road, and it was just after the snowstorm, and there's like a 90-degree
Yeah.
turn,
Yeah.
and a little cutoff right there. I couldn't get any farther.
Yeah.
Four-wheel drive.
I have to, right after the hairpin turn is Judy's house.
That's fine, so I got the reason I
I was a little scared to actually
Yeah.
do it, because it's such a.
It's like,
You're gonna be here.
Hey,
Anyway, just
Don't
to conclude, I'm glad you got here.
Yeah.
Sorry about the notice.
No,
Feel free to keep coming until we're done.
yeah, just, there's a hubbub amongst the homeowners there about this project. So I just wanted to attend, put out something to all the residents.
I mean, I got a call from somebody and I didn't even know about anything at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. What's going on with this cell tower?
Anyway,
okay.
thanks.
Thank you for coming. All right.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess I would suggest that we
I think so.
postpone consideration of this special permit application until 6:30 on February 10th. And in the meantime, collect information relating to the satisfactoriness of the bond to town council and request draft written findings from the applicant.
Yes, and
The technical report is continue, not postpone.
Continue. Thank you.
continue.
Thank you.
Yes,
You're
continue.
right.
Um,
I'll second that.
do you think, Brooke, do you think we can get and make sure everybody an informal, it doesn't have to be a registered or anything, but just get a notification to people on Beaver Dam Road?
Yeah, I have to be assessor.
Yeah. Yeah, and get their, if they gotta get their tax bills.
Go and drive and mail it myself.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, was there any mailed in comments from anybody?
No.
None, okay.
Okay, so a motion to continue and seconded by Peg. Conrad,
Hi.
Peg,
Aye.
Dave. Aye. Peter.
Aye.
Buck Donovan, aye. Okay, so we're continued, sir, till the 10th
Thank you.
at 6:30. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. And, yeah, and everybody saw. Lennox was pretty rough. You guys see any of that go on? Yeah, that one was tough.
They had a tower.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Shack Town.
So.
Weird. I gotta go. Okay, go ahead. I don't know, folks.
Right.
No, I'll go.
That was good. Yeah,
Here, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Could
think,
we maybe look at?
Hold it over.
Yeah.
We still got enough time to get this ready
We
for
got
town meeting?
time.
Yeah.
good times. Yep, let's give ourselves some homework assignments.
Yeah,
People read it, okay, and call me if you have concerns so that I can, get.
Good, Dave. So we can, maybe we can, we can't,
look at this thing.
It's not.
Yeah,
rebuild the structure.
she'll send it. She'll send it.
She'll send it to
Yeah.
us. And if there's anything.
Let's wait for Dave to get back.
Oh,
and
yeah,
We'll talk
sure.
about this.
Oh. All right, that sounds good. Very good. I don't know, no. That's
You can't really see it from Route 20, it's much farther.
I don't think it's.
You know, you go on the highway.
Be good.
Is that right by the power line? It's all,
You notice it on that.
you know, that's what's
Power
funny.
lines in England.
Everybody goes nuts about them. We
And then.
draft giant bylaws with all these,
Did you look?
huh? No, but they did this when everybody freaked out about it. But nobody was there when electric lines went through, telephone lines, and those are the ugliest things we got around.
They are.
When was that? When they, what?
I agree.
Well, when cell towers first started coming around, everybody was up in arms. and had to
Everybody
write-
hated you.
Everybody hated them, had to write bylaws about it. And, but the ugliest thing on the road are the telephone poles.
I know. I mean, looking at the pictures, it's like, get rid of that telephone pole with the transformer on, it, will you?
Yeah.
Talk about ugly.
Okay, all right, we're all back here. Folks, we still have a little bit more business.
Meeting's still in order. Meeting is continuing.
Meeting's still going.
Please move your conversations out the hall.
Sorry, we don't know. Let me just say something about the mail. Brooke did everything she could.
I know.
Also, the post office. I mean, I've had this post box since the 70s. They're returning mail like crazy.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. She's very good, and I know,
You'll try.
it was not intentional. Okay, 8 o'clock, we try to get out of here at 8 o'clock, Gordon.
Thank you.
And I think at this point, let's all give ourselves a homework assignment on the new bylaws for residential.
Hey, Gordon, this is Peter. If you've got comments for me, I'd love to see them before the next meeting.
I will, this is Gordon Bailey. I will try and get them to you. Maybe we can get together for coffee or something, or meet in the office, whatever.
You too, Ken, right?
Yeah, because I just have a couple questions and some language suggestions, and then just asking why on a couple things. So that'd be great to get your ideas.
We meet, we can probably save the board some time at the next meeting.
I think
Oh,
so.
there's no doubt about it. And I agree, it's late. I can understand why you want to kill this and put it
Yeah.
till next week. I get
We
it.
just- It gets less
Yeah.
productive after 8. But you guys used to go till 10 o'clock at night
Yeah.
back
Yes,
when.
we
I
did.
don't know.
We used to go to 11 some nights when we were doing.
Yeah,
some-
yeah.
But you know,
Bunch of heroes.
Now it's 10
We're-
minutes,
I tell you.
we were younger and full of it. So, you know.
You were full of it, all right.
Yeah, we were definitely full of it, Buck.
Thank you for your reflection about getting together with Peter. That'll
Yeah.
work out well.
No problem. I will leave. If you guys are done, I'll go ahead and leave.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks very
One
much.
more, thank you everyone for the work tonight. One more motion.
motion to adjourn.
Second. All right, all in favor?
Bye.